I think part of the reason that I'm feeling really bad about this is that the other situations in which something like this has happened over the past few years, really things got really bad. They got very, very bad, and there turned out to be nothing I could do, like nothing that I could do, that addresses the situation, and it really only got worse and worse, and I got hurt by it. I mean, there was that situation when I was staying at that crisis unit for a few months as a DMH client to get a respite bed to be out of the shelter for a while. And what was that? That was the winter of, it was 2014 to 2015, during the blizzard. Yeah. And it honestly, that was very difficult. That was really, really difficult. There were a few other patients or clients at that place. Thank God I had my own room. For a while I had my own room anyway. But it would be all right for a while, and then another patient would get there. Someone would leave and somebody else would get there, and it was just like every few weeks at least. It was usually a male patient, unfortunately, who would just be relentless with the coughing, absolutely relentless. Coughing right outside my room, coughing for hours, coughing when I was around. To the point where I felt unsafe, actually. Because it's my room. Although I liked it and I liked having a room to myself, it was like on the other side of the hallway from the nurse's station. Some of the people who worked there were sympathetic, but some of them were not. And it was just kind of this conflict that lasted the entire time that I was there, because there was denial about it. Basically, quite a lot of denial about it from the management of it. The management at every level was invested in denying the whole situation. And of course, in a situation like that, it's really dangerous because they can just say, well, you're delusional. And if the people in charge are saying that, even though they know it's not true, you're not at least you're not going to get any help, and you're going to have to live in that intolerable situation, or worse can happen. And that's actually what happened to me. There was a guy who was there. Finally, there was a guy who was there who was a little smarter than kind of some of the average patients, and absolutely relentless, totally relentless, vicious toward me every single day, absolutely so vicious. And he won. He got staff on his side. There were staff who were staff who not only were harassing me, but were planning to upset me enough that they could justify having me taken to an emergency room for a psychiatric evaluation and being committed to a hospital. And they did that to me. I talked about it. I mean, it was one of the few times over these past several years that I have sobbed uncontrollably. Absolutely, just couldn't even. When I realized that was happening to me. I burst into tears. I cried for hours. It's one of the few times over these past several years. What am I going to do? Cry in front of people who want to see me cry? Cry in front of people who couldn't care less? It's not like I have any privacy to cry anyway. So what's the point? But this time I couldn't help it. I really couldn't help it. I must have cried for like 4 or 5 hours straight, when things finally fell apart there. After just weeks of this guy viciously harassing me and saying all these horrible things to me, like right in front of staff, and staff just like taking his side, and it was horrible. And I got committed to a hospital for a week. And I was, I know how to deal with hospitals, so I was fortunate that the place that I went to, the doctor that I got assigned to, was not out to get me, because sometimes some of them are, and I knew exactly what to do and say to be out of there in a week. And then I went back to Pine Street Inn. It was just, and then when I went back to the crisis unit, they had put my things in garbage bags and thrown them in a closet. And they were like, oh yeah, here's your stuff. And some of it was mixed up with other people's dirty clothing, and some of it was just like, it was vicious, totally horrible. But I mean, that kind of thing can happen in a mental health care setting anyway. But that guy won. That guy, and there I was, trying trying to be as productive as I could, recuperating to a certain extent because I had been living in a homeless shelter. Also, not just, it was just, but I was filling out applications for apartments. I was working, with agencies to try to get housing. I was doing those things, but they just decided that they were just going to torture me, and they did. And that guy won. He had no reason to dislike me. I did not give him any reason to dislike me, but he did. And then when I went to the Pine Street Inn, there was a guy working there that I did not know. He had gotten hired in my absence, and he harassed me for 8 months. He used his position as an employee of the Pine Street Inn to harass me for 8 months straight. He stalked me around the shelter. Sometimes he would stalk me with another employee. I was totally dependent on those of the staff who were willing to tell him to leave me alone. He would leave me alone for an hour, he'd leave me alone for a day, and then he would be stalking me. He would be stalking and harassing me again. He would lie and say, he would lie, and other staff would help him lie about what was happening, and it went on and on and on and on and on. And this is a situation in which you eat and you sleep at that place. So, there you are at night, sleeping somewhere that there, is a staff person around who, is harassing and stalking you. And I tried and tried and tried. I sent emails, I made phone calls, I reported him, I did, but it was like, there was nothing, literally absolutely nothing I could do. And I lived like that for 8 months. It's the better part of a year. And finally, other women finally spoke up and said he was harassing them too. But that's what it took. It took other witnesses saying he had been doing the same thing to them. Finally, for him to get, I think he got fired because those women finally approached me and they said, "What's going on? Why are you so upset?" And I told them, and they said they were like, "Oh my God, I thought I was the only person he was doing this to." But it was, and then there were other women who were saying that they had seen him be inappropriate with other women. And it was just, he had the run of the place though. And nothing was done. Absolutely nothing was done to stop him for an entire 8 months. I was dealing with that in addition to everything else that I was dealing with being homeless. And so, I have been in this situation before. And I have never been able to do anything about it. This type of situation where it's someone who whatever his motivation is, it has nothing to do with the subject that we're supposed to be studying in that class. Nothing whatsoever. I would imagine he just spends whatever time he spends thinking about that class. What he's thinking about is what can he do? What can he do the next time he's in that classroom to try to upset me? And I don't know. I don't really know what his motivation is. But I know that in these situations, there has never been anything that I'm able to do. There is nothing I'm able to do, and I think they like that. I think the people who caused me to go through this really like that a lot.